Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Quiet Resonance, a channel dedicated to sharing knowledge on personal development through books. Hume once said, "Life has two treasures. One is freedom of thought, and the other is freedom of movement." Yet, while most of us are born into freedom, how many of us truly achieve authentic freedom? Most people unknowingly shackle themselves with invisible chains, turning life's journey into a relentless struggle for liberation. But why, despite all our efforts, do we still fail to break free? The main reason lies in three primary chains that everyone must confront, chains we often lack the awareness and courage to decisively remove at the right moment. If we don't recognize and release them in time, we'll remain trapped, unable to attain true freedom and happiness. So, what are these three chains? The classic novel of Human Bondage offers profound insights to help you find the answers for yourself. This semi-autobiographical work by the renowned British author William Somerset Maugham was previously introduced alongside his book The Moon and Sixpence. Maugham began conceptualizing this novel at age 23, but it wasn't until he was 37 that he completed the manuscript. Upon its release, it was hailed as a work of genius, quickly becoming a literary classic translated into many languages. Now, let's dive into a vision discussion titled, Three Chains to Break in Life, inspired by William Somerset Maugham's of Human Bondage. 1. Breaking the chain of self-doubt to reconcile with your imperfect self. The protagonist, Philip, loses both parents at age 9 and is raised by his uncle. But his uncle's rigid, conservative nature makes Philip's childhood a pressure-filled and sorrowful one. Worse still, Philip is born with a disability in one leg, causing him to limp. This physical imperfection, combined with a lonely upbringing, leaves him shy, insecure, and hypersensitive. At school, he's mocked by classmates. Some force him to remove his shoe to expose his disability, others mimic his limp, and some even kick his leg. Philip tries desperately to fit in, yearning to live like those around him, but the more he tries, the more he's ridiculed. The intense psychological pressure causes his academic performance to plummet, and even his teachers cruelly call him a stupid cripple. In high school, the taunts and humiliation continue, deepening his psychological scars. He grows increasingly withdrawn, haunted by his physical imperfection, which becomes a thorn in his heart. Even as an adult, hearing the word cripple makes him flush with anxiety, his heart racing and hands trembling. In those moments, he's consumed by hatred and resentment toward his own body. Finding work is a struggle due to his disability. In love, he's convinced no woman could ever accept him. Years later, as a grown man and a doctor, Philip treats a young boy with a similar leg disability. Seeing the boy feels like seeing his younger self, so Philip is careful in their interactions. But the boy, carefree, smiles and says, "It just doesn't look great, but it doesn't affect my life much." Those light, casual words hit Philip like a ton of bricks, waking him up. Why do society's standards of beauty or excellence matter so much to us? Because we crave them. But the more we chase perfection to gain others' approval, the more their looks, words, and actions affect us. The more we're affected, the deeper our insecurities grow, and the more we crave perfection. It's a vicious cycle, trapping us in an invisible prison, chained by self-doubt. Maugham uses Philip's physical disability to highlight a universal truth: we all have flaws, whether physical or emotional. As I shared in a previous discussion about Alfred Adler's classic psychology book, everyone experiences some degree of self-doubt. If it's not one thing, it's another: being too fat or too thin, too tall or too short, having imperfect teeth or an unattractive face, dark skin or acne, poor grades, an unimpressive job, a lack of education, a physical disability, being LGBTQ+, or coming from a poor background. Ultimately, we all feel insecure about our imperfections. When facing self-doubt, people typically react in one of two ways: avoidance or defensiveness. Those who avoid withdraw, steering clear of situations that might trigger feelings of inferiority or discomfort. They shy away from social events, public gatherings, or meeting friends. This self-isolation limits personal growth and can lead to procrastination or indecision. The irony is, the more they isolate, the stronger their desire to fit in becomes. But that desire only deepens their insecurity, keeping them chained to self-doubt. Defensive people, on the other hand, protect themselves from hurt, criticism, or judgment by seeking validation from others. They might subtly expose their flaws to fish for compliments, a behavior known as self-deprecation. When someone says, "I'm so fat lately," "I'm too short," or "this outfit looks terrible on me," what they're really seeking is reassurance like, "No, you're not fat," or "You look great in that outfit." But these words offer only fleeting comfort. Deep down, they know it's just polite flattery. Yet they continue to downplay themselves, acting out an internal drama that only deepens their pain. If you keep dwelling on your pain, stubbornly wearing yourself down, you'll never break free from these chains. The only way to unshackle yourself is to stop comparing yourself to others, stop fixating on your flaws, and stop believing that being imperfect is a tragedy. Life's journey is a constant process of breaking chains, but sometimes, all it takes is a single moment of clarity. Like Philip, after a shift in perspective, he realizes that while fate gave him a flawed body, it also gifted him unique strengths. He says, "If my leg wasn't disabled, I wouldn't have this heightened sensitivity." The books he's read, the paths he's walked, and the pain he's endured teach him that his disability, while making life harder, also gave him the ability to reflect deeply, appreciate art, and cherish life's beauty. From that moment, Philip calmly accepts his imperfect self, breaking free from the chains of self-doubt and finding inner peace. There's a saying, "A flower not fully bloomed, a moon not fully round, is the most beautiful." If every flower bloomed fully, it would soon wither. If the moon were always full, it would soon wane. Nothing in this world is perfect, but it's that imperfection that makes you unique. If you keep comparing yourself to others, believing they have something better, your focus will stay on your flaws, blinding you to your strengths. Only by letting go of the chain of self-doubt can you change what's within your power positively, naturally, without comparison, focusing solely on yourself. What you can't change, you must accept. At that point, others' opinions and judgments lose their weight. Only then can you touch true freedom. Like Philip, who walks confidently with his limp, Leo Tolstoy once said, "Every change, every charm, and every beauty in life is made of light and shadow." When you learn to embrace life's imperfections, you gain the strength to step out of the darkness and discover your true worth. 2. Casting off the chain of misguided persistence to find the right path. Choosing a career is a question everyone faces. Philip is no exception. His uncle wants him to become a pastor, while his aunt hopes he'll follow his late father's path as a doctor. Unsure of his own desires, Philip rejects both options, hating the idea of either role. Through a connection, he starts an apprenticeship at an accounting firm. But the mundane tasks and endless numbers soon leave him miserable. From a young age, Philip loved painting. His friends admired his artwork, believing he had artistic talent, which fueled his dream of becoming a painter. He convinces his uncle to support him financially and heads to Paris with high hopes to study art. At first, he feels at home among like-minded people, painting passionately, sipping coffee, and discussing art and life. But everything changes when he meets a girl named Price. Price is diligent, practicing tirelessly, but her teacher, after observing her, realizes she lacks talent and bluntly advises her to find a more suitable path. Price refuses to believe him, convinced that persistence alone will lead to success. In the end, none of her paintings sell, poverty consumes her, and in despair, she takes her own life in a run-down rented room. Price's story shocks Philip, making him question his own choices for the first time. Unable to hold back, he asks his teacher if he has any talent for painting. Instead of a direct answer, the teacher shares a story, the plot of Mom's other famous novel, The Moon and Sixpence. It's about a stockbroker named Strick, who has a stable career and a happy family but abruptly abandons everything to pursue his dream of becoming a painter in Paris. He says, "I felt like I was drowning, and only painting could save me." Driven by boundless passion, Strick achieves his dream and finds true happiness. Hearing this, Philip realizes that true artists need more than talent, they need an unshakable passion for their craft. In a recent video, I discussed persistence through the life of the genius painter Van Gogh. A viewer commented that the line between persistence and stubbornness is thin. In truth, that line isn't as blurry as it seems, it only feels vague when you don't truly know yourself. This requires learning to observe and understand yourself deeply, asking questions like, what do you love doing? Are you good at it? Does it bring you joy and fulfillment? Are you ready to face its challenges? Have you weighed the gains and losses of continuing? Are you working just for material goals, money, or status? Do you have a burning passion driving you? Do you have the determination to let nothing stop you? If you can answer yes to these, persist with all you've got, like Van Gogh, like Strick in The Moon and Sixpence, or like Santiago in The Alchemist. But if not, be like Philip in this novel and take a hard look at yourself. Philip realizes he lacks the intense passion for painting. After much reflection, he abandons art and enrolls in medical school in London. Because this decision was carefully considered, he dedicates himself fully to his studies. Through relentless effort, he earns his medical license. Treating and saving patients, Philip discovers his true worth, growing more confident and resilient. He realizes that being a doctor is his true calling. There's a saying, persisting in a mistake isn't courage, it's foolish stubbornness. In his quest for purpose, Philip finds a field where he excels and feels passionate by recognizing his limits and having the courage to stop. In our own lives, if we know we lack the ability for a certain path yet stubbornly pursue it, we'll likely achieve nothing. Only by letting go of that stubbornness can you see the right path ahead, do what you're good at, and find your true self. As the poet Hesiod said, each person's true task is singular, to find themselves and hold fast to that truth throughout life. 3. Breaking the chain of toxic relationships to love yourself and live freely. While studying art in Paris, Philip falls for a waitress named Mad. She has an ordinary face and pale, sickly skin, but Philip is consumed by a passionate obsession. Over time, he sees her for who she is, shallow, harsh, materialistic, rigid, greedy, vain, dishonest, and morally questionable. On every date, she shops recklessly, and despite his financial struggles, Philip spends all he has to please her. They share little in common, with few topics to discuss, leaving her bored. Philip tries endlessly to spark conversation and make her happy. Worse, she's unfaithful, seeing multiple men. Despite her betrayal and disrespect, Philip can't let go. When Mad becomes pregnant by another man and is abandoned, she returns to Philip. He doesn't complain, instead offering to care for her and the child with even greater devotion. He knows he's like someone waiting for a plane that never lands, chasing a love that doesn't exist. He hates himself for loving so recklessly, lowering himself to an unhealthy degree, but he can't break free. At times, he believes he's not good enough for her. He's willing to do anything, convinced that his sincerity will eventually win her love. But what does he get? Only the pain of blind desire, deception, and repeated humiliation. Blinded by materialism, Mad later becomes a prostitute, contracts a disease, and disappears from Philip's life. Penniless, he's left wandering the streets, paying a heavy price for a toxic relationship. With time and reflection, Philip realizes he wasn't in love with a person but with his own ego, desires, and stubbornness. As discussed in The Road Less Traveled, emotions driven by possession or dependency aren't true love. Philip's intense but blind love, fueled by a need to be loved, was a chain binding his soul. Maugham writes, "This love was pure torment. He hated how desire consumed him, turning him into a prisoner longing for freedom." When Philip encounters Mad again, he helps her out of kindness, not attachment. He later meets someone truly compatible, and they marry in mutual love and respect. By letting go of his obsession and breaking free from the bonds of a toxic relationship, Philip finally feels light and free. True love is compassionate and empathetic, granting each other freedom to grow and become the best versions of themselves. Love rooted in possession or dependency only drags you down, eroding your sense of self. By recognizing and casting off this chain, you can walk in freedom, learning to love yourself and others authentically. There's a famous saying, "Everything has cracks, that's how the light gets in." Life is full of ups and downs, and we all carry regrets and imperfections. It might be a physical flaw, personal shortcomings, career setbacks, or emotional pain. Most of life's journey is marked by things not going as planned. In those dark, uncertain moments, take a moment to pause and read this book. It might give you the courage to change your life's course. Through his trials, Philip teaches us that only by breaking the chain of self-doubt about your imperfections can you find inner peace, step out of the shadow of insecurity, and turn self-doubt into strength. Only by letting go of misguided persistence in your work can you discover your passion and true value. Only by releasing the chain of toxic relationships can you live fully and grow in balanced, healthy connections. And when you break these chains, you can finally love yourself, love others, and live a life of true freedom. There's a saying, "One thought can make you a demon, one thought can make you a saint." Your destiny begins with a single realization. Are you ready to break life's chains and rediscover yourself? Clinging to obsession traps you in a prison, letting go brings boundless freedom. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, share it with someone who needs it, give us a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for our weekly videos. Once again, thank you, and see you in the next video.